It gets even better when you know what happened a few months ago. It was all over social media. Uzumaki beat up Bakugo so one-sidedly without using his quirk. I even downloaded that video on my phone. It was that crazy. Kaminari further hyped everyone up. As for All Might, he was just as interested in the matchup as everyone else there. Most people showed their true colors when they were in a tough battle. All Might wanted to see exactly just who was Uzumaki Naruto. Even after all this time, he had not forgotten his mistake, letting a criminal as powerful as the sludge villain escape and nearly kill a kid. But just like he had not forgotten his mistake, All Might could also not forget about the golden dome of light that had killed the sludge villain and destroyed 2 tall apartment buildings too. Was it another person back then? I arrived there only a few seconds after the light faded away. I would have seen if there was another person. But if there was nobody else, that means that young Naruto had killed the villain. However, everyone has only quirk. Unless, All for One was somehow involved with him.
It was a bit of a stretch even in his mind, but All Might could not easily ignore the matter. All for One had been like a shadow over his life for decades. He had killed his master, and countless other innocent people, and he had destroyed his career as a hero too. I hope young Uzumaki has nothing to do with All for One. But even if he is somehow involved, I hope it is not too late. He is just a young boy. There is still time for him to change and turn his life around for the best.
Bringing Naruto into UAA. Kai was a way for All Might to hit multiple birds with one stone. In a way, he was reimbursing Naruto for his mistake. He was keeping an eye on a potential asset of his archenemy, Afo, while also having the chance to properly teach and guide the young boy to become a hero, eliminating a potential hazard. He hoped that he would gain some insight into Naruto's true character after this battle. "Hey, I'm Naruto," he said, introducing himself to his teammate for the first time. Kyoka Jiro had been among the 3 girls and 6 boys that had crowded around him the day before when he had entered the classroom for the first time. Seeing Naruto's earnest smile and his outstretched hand, the girl smiled shyly, the earphone jacks of her ears curling up. Seemingly not noticing the girl's embarrassment, Naruto continued. 5 minutes isn't a long time, so we have to introduce ourselves fast. I have a Fox Quirk. I can do pretty much everything a fox can. I'm very good at close combat. My eyesight, sense of smell and hearing are great as well. Quickly getting over her shyness, Kyoka said, "My quirk is earphone jack, and the jack-like lobes of her ears raised in front of his face. If I plug these into the wall or into the ground, I can hear sounds from very far away distances. I can do something similar to echolocation." "Echo what?" Naruto asked in confusion. The girl touched the lobes of her ears as she explained to him. "I can amplify and release the sound of my heartbeats to detect people and things based on the vibration they will make at the contact with the sound waves." Naruto thought for a few seconds before saying, "That looks like a very useful quirk for spying and scouting."
I can also amplify the sound of my heartbeats so loud that I can destroy even walls with the sound intensity. So I can attack too if it comes down to it, Kyoka continued, secretly pleased that Naruto was not underestimating her quirk.
I see, Naruto nodded sagely. Then, he changed the subject abruptly. "Bakugo and I went to the same junior high, and he's bearing a grudge against me. Even if the bomb is in front of his eyes, he'll probably still go after me to prove he's stronger." "Yikes, why?" she asked. "I might or might have not kicked his butt badly a few months ago." The 2 of them started snickering together. "I say we take advantage of Bakugo's grudge on me and lead him away from the bomb. What do you think? Can deal with the other guy." Sounds good to me. As for Mineta, his quirk isn't that strong in a fight. He can throw sticky balls from his hair. He shouldn't be a problem," the girl said. "All right then, let's do this," Naruto said with a grin, and raised his fist in front of her. Understanding the gesture, Kyoga returned his grin as they bumped their fists together. According to the plan, Naruto quickly left the room and jumped down the stairs, completely skipping all the steps, straight to the ground floor. "I can hear them. They've entered through the door already," came Kyoka's voice from the communication device installed close to Naruto's ears. One of them, the shorter one, Mineta, went to the right corridor. Bakugo is walking straight ahead. Outside of his door, Izuku's mother was crying her eyes out too, her heart breaking at the pain she heard in her son's voice. "Thank you, I'll get Bakugo. Contact me right away if you have troubles with the other guy." "Roger." Saying that, Naruto grabbed a kunai from one of the pouches strapped at his right thigh, and using his superhuman strength, he stabbed it into the wall around 30 centimeters above the floor. After that, it took less than 3 seconds for him to tie a very thin thread from the loop at the end of the weapon's handle. He repeated the same action on the other wall of the corridor he was in, and slipped the wire through the loop of the second kunai's handle as well. His preparations done, he ran to meet Bakugo straight on, following Kyoka's instructions through their communication device. The very instant that Naruto entered his line of sight, it was as if someone pulled out the pin of a grenade. Hands raised in front of him, Bakugo screamed at the top of his lungs. "Dai!" A violent vortex of fire exploded forth, scorching the walls of the corridor black and incinerating everything in its path. The power of Bakugo's explosion quirk was a sight to behold. However, the target of his rage was nowhere to be found. It had escaped unscathed. "Uzumaki!" Bakugo roared, spittle flying out of his mouth. "Face me! Fight me! Don't run away, you cowardly bastard!" "Cry me a river," Naruto sang mockingly, and laughed as he sprinted away, making sure to be one section of the maze-like corridor ahead of Bakugo at all times, not letting him take aim at him with his explosion quirk.
The range of Bakugo's quirk granted him an overwhelming advantage in such a closed-off space. Naruto would have no space to dodge the explosions whatsoever if his explosion filled up the entire corridor. For now, his only choice was to avoid a frontal confrontation.
Bakugo's quirk is so powerful. Many of the students said in awe as they watched the scene of the explosion engulfing the entire corridor and destroying the video camera in the process as well. It was only when Foxboy appeared on the recording of another camera that they breathed out a sigh of relief that he hadn't been grievously injured, or worse. It also made them realize the severity of the situation and how heavy was the responsibility on their shoulder whenever they used their powers. One wrong move or a bit of bad luck, and they could kill someone by mistake if they did not hold back. "This is insane, Sensei," is Bakugo trying to kill him. Kaminari complained. However, All Might did not reprimand him. "Here I am, worrying over young Uzumaki being a villain. In the making, yet young Bakugo seems even more problematic than him." Hiro zoned out as he started debating in his mind if he should temporarily stop the exercise and reinforce for everyone that they are not allowed to seriously harm their fellow classmates, or if she should wait until the end of this current battle. He had thought that that was common sense for them to hold back against their fellow classmates. He had not expected Bakugo to unleash his quirk like that, with no regard for his opponent's safety or life. However, before he could come to a decision, he heard the rest of the class cry out in surprise, and he returned his attention to the screen. Having completely lost all sense of control, Bakugo pointed his arms behind him, and the explosion from his palms propelled him forward like a rocket. "I'll catch you, Uzumaki," he screamed in glee, greatly invigorated at the fact that he had almost caught up to Naruto, having managed to catch a glimpse of Naruto's foxtail just as he turned to the right, towards another corridor. "You're done for when I get my hands on you. Ha ha ha!" His laughter transformed into a cry of surprise after an almost invisible white thread had suddenly risen up from the floor and caught his feet. Unable to stop the momentum of his flight, the thread made him stumble and fall on his face. It was a testament to his incredible reflexes and quick reaction that Bakugo managed to bring in hand in front of him just in time to create an explosion. That explosion made his body flip in the air, and he somehow regained his balance, eventually landing on the floor, on his feet. But just as he was celebrating his momentary success, a sudden shout reached his ears. Lariat! Naruto screamed, and having only just barely landed on the floor after his flip in midair, Bakugo was unable to react. The fox boy's arm slammed into Bakugo's throat and blasted him back as if he had been hit by a truck. It was the favorite taijutsu move of the Fourth Raikage and Killer Bee from Naruto's past life. Naruto's bursts of speed for short distances were so great due to his Fox Quirk superhuman agility that even Tenya Tuida had not been able to beat him in the 50 meters dash test from the day before. Bakugo had never stood a chance the moment that he had been destabilized by the kunai thread, simple trap.
The force of the hit not only that it hurled Bakugo all the way to the back of the corridor, but it had also knocked him out cold too. Nevertheless, Naruto was not done with him. Grabbing 6 kunai from the 2 pouches strapped at his thighs, 3 in each one of his hands, he threw them with as much strength as he could.
Outside the building, the rest of the class and even All Might cried out in shock at Naruto's actions. Had he gone mad? Was he actually trying to kill Bakugo? Only for them to be shocked one more when they saw the result of his actions. The 6 kunai blades accurately pinned Bakugo's body to the wall, stabbing through his clothes and into the concrete, but not harming him in the least. Holy shit! Did you see that? The boys and the girls were losing their minds at the godlike display of knife-throwing skills. All Might himself was gaping at the scene in disbelief too. What was that? For real, what was that? It's like out of a movie. Just how many years did he practice with throwing knives to get that insanely skilled with them? He had spent decades fighting crime and facing all kinds of superpowered individuals, yet it was the first time he had seen this kind of martial skill at someone, and it was a 15-year-old kid no less. Having finished off Bakugo, Naruto broke into a run back to the top floor where the dummy nuke that they were supposed to protect was located. Kyoka, I defeated Bakugo. What's the situation at you? Already, that was fast. Due to the deafening sounds made by Bakugo's explosions, Kyoka had stopped using her earphone jack quirk lest her ears started bleeding. Having gotten a figurative green light to use her quirk again, she inserted her ear jack back into the wall. Mineta is only 1 floor away. He should get here in less than a minute. Hold on, I'm on my way. Don't try to defeat him. We can't afford to make mistakes right now. Just keep him busy and don't let him touch the bomb, no matter what. Don't worry, leave it to me. Ending the conversation, Naruto started jumping entire flights of stairs at a time, resembling a rabbit much more than a fox at that moment. His efforts did not go to waste, seeing as he arrived just in time to see the tiny boy open the door of the villain's room. But just as Mineta opened the door, an absurdly loud sound wave caught him fully and blasted him all across the corridor. However, Naruto did not get a chance to see the final outcome of that attack. Bright red blood burst from his fluffy fox ears as his eardrums were ruptured, and he collapsed on the floor unconscious. His eyes rolled into the back of his head. To someone with a sense of hearing as sensitive as his, Kyoka's powerful sound attack had been deadly. And Chapter 6. Beyond the Limits. By the time Naruto woke up, the sun was about to disappear beyond the horizon. It was evening. Letting out a yawn, he closed back his eyes and attempted to turn on the other side when a sharp voice of an old woman slammed into his eardrums. You've slept enough already. Get up, classes are over. It's time for you to go home. No, he moaned and covered his head with the pillow. Don't act like a baby now, you're going to be a pro hero, aren't you? All right, he said in annoyance and sat up. But when he saw 2 people waiting at his bedside, he blinked at them owlishly. What are you 2 doing here?
Sitting on a stool next to his bed were a boy with curly green hair and a girl with short dark hair and something that looked like earphone jacks on the lobes of her ears. They were none other than Midoriya Izuku and Kyoka Jiro.
Before Izuku could reply, the girl quickly stood up from her chair and bowed at an almost 90 degrees angle. I'm terribly sorry, I'd never thought the attack would catch you too. I'm so sorry. Naruto quickly waved his hands in front of his face to dispel her worries when he heard her trembling voice. It looked as if the girl was on the verge of crying. Don't worry. I'm at fault too. I should have seen that coming. I should have built my suit with a countermeasure for it. But I forgot, haha, he said, and rubbed the back of his head. Due to regaining the memories of his past life, Naruto could still vividly recall his first Chunin exams, specifically his fight against Inuzuka Kiba. Back then, Kiba was a much better fighter than him. The genin Kiba was so fast and so strong that Naruto wasn't even allowed the 2 seconds needed to make the hand seals for casting a shadow clone technique. It looked like he was losing the fight, and quite badly at that, until he farted. And he farted just as Kiba came in his proximity. For the Inuzuka's enhanced sense of smell, it had been devastating. Kiba lost that fight because of a freaking fart. That said, Naruto had learned from that experience and designed his suit to prevent such a scenario from happening to him as well. His fox-like Anbu mask was equipped with a respiratory system that would protect him from harmful gases. But in typical Naruto-ish fashion, he did not think everything through. He had forgotten about his enhanced sense of hearing, and he had paid for it.
No, this is unacceptable, Kyoka said, shaking her head. I hurt my teammates. When we go out in the field, this could be fatal.
He tried to pacify her, but she was inconsolable. After apologizing for half a dozen times more, the girl bowed one more time and left. I heard you fought against Ka-chan again. Tell me more, Izuku asked while he and Naruto were going home together. Bakugo's quirk is really strong, but he's so easy to rile up. I made him chase after me and lured him into a corridor where I had prepared a trap. Nothing amazing. Just 2 kunai with a thread tied to the loops of their handles. When he flew in, I pulled on the thread and made him stumble. He didn't even have the chance to react before I knocked him out with a lariat, he said smugly. I can't wait to rub it in his face tomorrow. He's going to... What are you doing? Naruto suddenly stopped and asked. At some point during his tale, Izuku had taken out a notebook and started writing down his words. Well, you know, I often write down information about all the amazing heroes and strong quirks I see. Looking at what was written on the notebook's cover, Naruto did not know whether to laugh or cry. You're noting down the story of me beating Bakugo in your notebook for becoming a pro hero. He cleared his throat and fanned his face with his right hand. He did love showing off in front of others, but Izuku fanboying over his fight against Bakugo embarrassed him. Sheesh, you're making me blush, man. And never mind my fight with Bakugo. Tell me, how is the general education course treating you? Izuku shrugged his shoulders. I guess it's not bad. It's not any different than junior high. We only have normal classes. They became silent after that, walking shoulder to shoulder on the sidewalk, with Izuku looking at his feet, and Naruto gawking aimlessly at the sky, his hands behind his head. I won't give up, Izuku said eventually. I understand now. After failing the practice exam, I see how big is the difference between me and those who have quirks. But I still won't give up. Not all villains have super powerful quirks. And I don't necessarily need to have a quirk to save someone's life. Before quirks appeared in the world, firemen and policemen were still saving people, without any superhuman powers. I can do it too. Then why not just apply for that? Why not become a policeman or a fireman? Naruto asked. It would be much easier. Policemen and firemen aren't as important as they used to be. Nowadays, heroes are the ones who usually get to the scene first. They're the ones who solve the situation. Policemen and firemen work mostly as the cleaning up crew after heroes, Izuku explained. When they were about to part ways, Naruto stopped and looked into Izuku's eyes. In spite of the boy's timid and shy disposition, he could see the fierce determination in his gaze, the stubbornness to never give up. It reminded him of himself when he was younger, in his previous life. There might be a way for you to shorten the gap between you and those with quirks, Naruto said. Izuku's eyes widened, but he kept silent, drinking every single word that came out of his mouth. "Have you heard of hysterical strength?" he asked. "And no, what is that?" "It sounds bad," the green-haired boy said and gulped. Instead of continuing to walk, Naruto led Izuku to the side, and they sat on the short garden fence in front of a nearby building. He frowned and thought for a few moments, trying to find the right words to explain to Izuku what he meant. "You know that our body usually can't use 100% of its strength. We have some sort of limiters. We limit our strength to protect and preserve our bodies. But there are times when even regular people can do superhuman things. Have you ever heard of the woman who lifted a car weighing a few hundred kilos in her desperation to save her child? It's a classic example." At Izuku's wordless nod of affirmation, Naruto continued. "You've probably heard many stories like that. Someone woman lifting a car to save her father that was trapped underneath, someone breaking through a concrete wall to save people from a collapsed building, and so on. These aren't just stories, they are real. There are moments when even regular people can do incredible things." Naruto made a pause on purpose before saying, "I could help you with that, train you until you can squeeze out every single bit of your power. But," he said loudly when Izuku started to show signs of excitement, "you gotta understand that our bodies have these limiters for a reason. If you make use of the hysterical strength too often, you will suffer. If you do it rarely, you'll only feel exhausted and probably tear your muscles. But if you abuse your hysterical strength, you could end up disabled for life, or worse, dead." Midoriya gulped at Naruto's words, understanding the severity of the consequences. "Now that you know the danger, do you wish to learn?" Despite the risks, Izuku's answer was instantaneous. "Yes. I can't say for sure that you'll be able to turn on your hysterical strength anytime you want it. It's something that even I can't do easily, despite that I've trained for months. But if I get you to experience it a few times, you will become more used to it. You'll have a bigger chance to surpass your limits in a crisis," Naruto explained. "But you need you to promise me, Izuku. Promise me you won't use this skill easily. You are my friend. I don't want you to end up becoming a vegetable. This is only to be used in a matter of life and death. It's going to be your ace in the sleeve to turn a hopeless situation around." In spite of Izuku's promises, Naruto still felt uneasy about his decision to fully support him like that. On one hand, he wanted to trust in his friend and help him achieve his dream of becoming a pro hero. That's what friends were for, to help and support each other. But, on the other hand, Naruto was no longer as naive as he had once been in his past life. Having the memories of two lives, and witnessing the death of his old world, had matured him beyond his physical age. He knew that there were limits to what one could achieve through hard work alone. What if he gets himself killed? Mercy is not in a villain's character. What if he meets a bloodthirsty villain with a powerful quirk?
He cared about Izuku and he was worried about his future as a quirkless person. That's why Naruto decided to even go as far as to teach him something as dangerous as tapping into the potential of his body and surpassing his limits by activating his hysterical strength.
The next day at school, Eraserhead discussed everyone's performance in the combat training class from the day before. Giving praise where it was deserved and admonishing someone when it was needed, Shota Aizawa was a strict but fair teacher. Eventually, he also addressed the elephant in the room, namely the team kill incident from the very first fight between Bakugo Mineta team versus Naruto Kyoka team. He started off with Kyoka. Using your quirk to locate the enemy was smart, but what you did later on, not so much. The girl looked down, unable to meet anyone's eyes at that moment. In spite of her looks and the seemingly flippant attitude that she had in her daily life, Kyoka was a conscientious and kind person. The fact that she had injured her own teammate, nobody was more upset about it than her. In the first place, the two of you were a bad matchup. It was unlucky for someone with your quirk to be paired up together with Uzumaki, who has an enhanced sense of hearing. But that is a scenario that is quite likely to happen down the line if you become a pro hero. There will be times when you will have to team up with all kinds of heroes. You need to learn how to use your quirk responsibly in order to not become a liability for your team. Yes, sensei, Kyoka said. Bakugo, Aizawa suddenly said, making the boy in question look at him intently. Frankly speaking, in such a confined space, your quirk gave you the complete advantage against Uzumaki. Not only that you could engulf the entire corridor in an explosion to keep him at bay, but, with his sensitive hearing, Uzumaki wouldn't be able to get close to you if you kept causing explosions due to their loud sounds. You should have just gone directly for the objective and let him come at you. But instead of taking the time to formulate a plan, you let your emotions cloud your judgment. I don't know what happened between the two of you before you came to UA, but I don't care either. Learn how to control your emotions. You're very talented, so don't act like a kid. I know, Bakugo replied grumpily, but his serious-looking face let Aizawa know that he took his words to the heart. As for you, Uzumaki, your planning and methods were flawless. You made use of your strengths and created a scenario where you could take advantage of them. But as smart as you were in that battle, what were you thinking when you designed your suit? If you knew your sense of hearing was so sensitive, why didn't you prepare a countermeasure for it? If I'm not mistaken, your mask has a respiratory system to protect you against harmful gases. Why didn't you get something similar for your ears? Naruto chuckled awkwardly and rubbed the back of his head. Haha, I kinda forgot about it. Eraserhead narrowed his eyes at him. Make sure you go to the support department after classes and see what they can do for you. Yes, sensei, Naruto said and nodded obediently. He acknowledged his mistake. Also, the teacher began to say rather hesitantly, I suggest you stopped using those knives of yours. Before the fox boy had the chance to ask why, Aizawa continued. Before the I could see from the videos that you are very skilled with your weapons. But accidents can happen. Imagine if those 6 knives that you threw did not meet their mark, and instead wounded Bakugo fatally. As pro-heroes, our job is not to kill the villains. We don't have the right to take anyone's lives. We are heroes, not vigilantes. Villains are to be arrested and handed over to the police. They will receive a fair trial and pay for their crimes according to the law. Do you understand? Naruto did not reply right away. I'm already at a disadvantage against guys like Bakugo, and especially against someone like All Might or that giant Mount Lady. Even my hysterical strength won't do much against powerhouses like them. Not using blades puts me in an even worse position, he thought, bummed out. Naruto was not a bloodthirsty person. Even in his past life as a shinobi, he could count on the fingers of one hand the number of people that he had killed. He avoided killing if he could, but that did not mean that he was pulling his punches when the situation called for him to go all out. Besides, growing up in this world had made him understand that the values of the society he lived in currently were different from those of the Hidden Leaf Village. Eraserhead said, if you want to keep on using weapons, blunt weapons are preferred. They can pack a serious punch while keeping the injuries at a minimum. But you should avoid lethal weapons that could easily kill someone. Okay, I understand, Naruto said eventually. A few days later. Hey Naruto, we're going to karaoke after school. You want to come with us? A girl with pink hair, pink skin, and 2 horns on her head asked while motioning with her hand at her, a group of teens waiting for her in the hallway. Sorry, Mina. I have to take care of something. The pink-haired girl pouted at his answer.
Oh, come on. You're always busy after classes. Let's go have some fun. Look, even someone like Bakugo is coming along.
What's that supposed to mean, huh? The edgy blonde screamed. Do you want me to kick your ass? But the girl ignored his shouts. Bakugo's classmates had gotten used to his personality by now and tended to tune him out whenever his anger management issues flared up. Naruto rubbed the back of his head and grinned apologetically.